How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Heavy Middle number 306. This is, at the time of recording, the most recent issue. I think it just came out this week, and we have this really fun painted cover here. Looks a little bit like a painterly version of something you might see in, say, Adventure Time or something. Really fun and trippy here. We get this guy, and he's got a little pink figure in his sphere there, and he's holding a bunch of crazy items there. And you see in the little flower, that's where you get the price, the Heavy Middle website, and number 306 right there. We go ahead and open this up, the ad, and then the table of contents, and we can see exactly what's in this issue. We have 12 things, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about each of them. When we get into the stories, I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few of the plot points, and I do want you to have a basic understanding as to what the story is about, but no major spoilers. But for the sake of time, I will be brushing over the episodic stories that are not in Chapter 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at these episodic stories, though. We have Swamp God Chapter 2, Darkwing Chapter 6, Savage Circus Chapter 6, and Star Wars Chapter 2. Those are the ones I'm going to kind of brush over because they're not in Part 1s. But we do have a few new Part 1s. We have Black Beacon Chapter 1 right there at the beginning. It's, as you can see, starts on page 5, and the next story doesn't start till 31, so that's a pretty long story. We'll get to that. And then Barracuda, which is another Chapter 1, even though it doesn't say so in the table of contents, but that is another Part 1 there. And if we look over here, we can see the alternate cover. If this fun trippy cover isn't your thing, here's a cover with a cool old-timey knight type character. So that's pretty fun, the B cover there, if you want to pick that up. We open things up with Black Beacon Chapter 1. There's this planet, and these guys are being chased by a cop type character who will be one of your two leads. The criminals get squashed by this falling pod, and there's your cop character there, and you see he has this weird force field glove thing as his weapon, and we see who's in the pod, and it turns out it's this young lady from Earth, and as you can see from her little patch there, from Australia. And the two talk, and it turns out the situation is quite complicated. You see, she came because she heard a message saying that there was a refuge here, but the thing is, lots of other people did too, and the first people that got here didn't see the group of people that left the message. The land is divided into all these plates that certain people have laid claim to, and there's only so many plates to go around, and at this point in time they're all taken up, and there's not enough places for her. So it's sort of a scarce resources. How many plates can there be? More people are still coming. Who sent this message, and and why? And you get these two that are going to be your leads, this the cop and the newcomer character there, and there's a bunch of lore that's set up in this story, and it really warrants that it's an ongoing episodic story, because there's a lot that happens. Interestingly enough, there is a break. Well, not really a break, but the story shifts focus more to the newcomer girl about halfway through, and the fact that this is so very long, I'm thinking that this is probably actually the first two chapters, and they just released them both right at the beginning to give you extra time to get hooked. But this shifts focus to the second character, and I'm thinking they just gave us 2 chapters, but it doesn't actually say that. But anyway, let's move right along to our next story. Gotta get to it. And the next story, you get Eculid. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that, but there's this guy in his spacesuit, and he's been traveling over 11,000 years when suddenly he's in a crash, and he shouldn't have hit anything. He's on his way to a place in deep space, but he crashed into these mysterious stairs that are just out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of deep space. And with his ship broken, he decides to climb. You see, he's got a special suit that will run forever and make him live forever. So he climbs these stairs for thousands upon thousands of years, and what will he find when he gets to the top? And it's this really dark and trippy story, and the fact that, you know, deep space, you don't know what's out there, and finding something so mysterious, it's kind of like when people find these stairs in the middle of the woods, which is its own whole thing there, but in a more big, ominous, deep space setting, and you don't really know what's going to happen to this guy, and he can't die, so he's going to wander on these stairs for who knows how long. A very dark and messed up story. Up next, Star 69. There's this little device that's in a field, and some guy finds it, and it turns out to be like this alien version of a cell phone, and he touches it, and it starts calling someone, but unfortunately for this guy, it turns out the person who owns the phone owes money to this guy, this gangster character, and he doesn't know. He thinks the guy calling him is just playing a joke, and he's like, no, really, I'm human, I don't have your money, don't come for me. And it turns into this whole situation where they have to de-escalate stuff over the phone, and he doesn't know how to use it, and the other guy doesn't believe he's just some random earthling. He's like, no, I'm just a guy, I don't owe you any money, it's someone else. And a fun, you know, kind of comedic story, and the fact that these two have to, you know, just by speech figure out how to get through this situation, and, you know, who's believing who and whatnot. So an interesting enough fun story, kind of classic heavy metal there. Swamp God Chapter 2, like I said, I'm going to go a little quick through this because this is Chapter 2. You get a brief shot with our team of soldiers here, but after that, we get a lot of the Confederate people talking to the witch, and of course, crazy, messed up stuff is going to happen there. Moving right along to Nuclear Romance. I love this crazy art style. One thing you gotta really give it to heavy metal for is the variety in art styles here, and this is a pretty fun one. Story and art by Stefano Cardellesi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but you get this big hulking robot, and every human on Earth is dead, and he's all messed up looking, but he has hope as he wanders the wasteland looking for what to do. And it's a fun sort of, you know, post-apocalyptic meandering story with this really cool giant robot character and this little bird that follows him around, and it's really fun. Pretty simple, but yeah, fun. Up next we have another new Chapter 1. This is Barracuda, and you see you get this guy. He's a dirty cop, a really, really dirty cop. In our introduction to him, he's with this prostitute, then afterwards reveals his badge and says, hey, if you don't want to get in any trouble, I need some money, and he robs from her. So not a really good character introduction to this guy. You see he's kind of a jerk, but this interaction with this prostitute here is not going to be just a one-time thing there. You see, because of this, he has a kid, and we cut to present day, and the kid says that she never met her father, because right after that day with the prostitute, the next day was the famous 4th of July bicentennial, and on that day her father disappeared, and now that she's grown up and she's a cop, she's going to be looking for her dad, and the story's told in the present with flashbacks to the past. And the girl is an interesting character, but the dad is such a bad and corrupt cop, and you really get off on the wrong foot with him. It's like, do you really need to look for this guy? I guess she does want answers, but an interesting enough setup with these corrupt 70s cops, and you wonder what's going to happen with them. And, I am a little curious as to the mystery, especially what you see later on. But yeah, everybody thinks he just messed with the wrong gangsters on this 4th of July day. Darkwing Chapter 6, which we'll brush over really quick. I do really love this art style, though. Moving right along, after Darkwing, we get this story called Au Natural, and you get this guy, he's waking up. You see he has some sort of virtual assistant that he talks to, and he explains that the human race survived a great nuclear tragedy, but there's not enough of them, and they've been locked up in their little place, kind of inbreeding too much, which is why he has this misshapen head. But he has a job in which he has to go outside of the bubble, and he's already complaining about, their lack of people, and maybe he's going to run into some situation out there. It's a fun story, that classic heavy metal strange setup there, and the person he's going to find is going to be quite the strange character with a pretty, like I say quite often, a pretty dark ending there. So a fun, weird little story. You see he's on his little crawling caterpillar van with his team of robots there. So a fun, messed up story, like a lot of the best heavy metal. But yeah, pretty fun, weird story there. Up next, you get this interview with Kevin. Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith was here. He's talking about how he's doing a new project based on the Kilroy was here thing. Which is kind of it's a pre-internet meme where soldiers would leave this Kilroy was here message, and he's turning it into a movie, but he's talking about how he's going to sell the movie as an NFT, which is basically the rights to the movie are going to be a digital item. It's kind of weird if you want to look into it. It's a new concept, but basically a new way to digitally sell movie rights that might change how independent films are distributed and financed. Not 100% sure on what it is, but an interesting concept, and I think Kilroy is Here might be an interesting movie. I'll have to check it out when it comes out. But yeah, a lot of crypto stuff in here. Moving right along, we do get, after that, chapter 6 of Savage Circus there. So yeah, that's one that's been going on for quite a while. And then after that, we are almost through with this issue. The last standalone story, Mega Babylon. You get this big old spaceship floating through the sky, and you get this king, King Nebuchadnezzar. They're using lots of Bible imagery here, but it's kind of all scrambled up in this weird way. But King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, but he doesn't remember the dream, and he wants to find someone who can tell him what the dream was and what it meant. And they eventually bring in this guy here who's a race of people that he thought he had killed them all, but they find him in hiding, and they say he's the only one that can interpret your dream. And he's going to be offering him an ultimatum based on what his dream means, and the king's going to have to make a choice, a classic tale of someone who has way too much power and has gone mad with it, and is going to have to do this ultimatum and see what happens from that. A fun, like I said, a lot of fun, classic, kind of random heavy metal story. And then after that, we get the last story here, Star Wars Chapter 2, in which our main character, Cohen, is meeting her other self and has to learn a bit about the past and what's going on with her and the mythological elements of her true identity there. And a fun continuation, more exposition, and it ends on a good cliffhanger, and I do want to see what the story pans out to as a whole. I'm thinking some of these episodic stories, when they're done, maybe I'll do their own video just reviewing them as a whole there. But that will wrap this all up. At the very end, we get the ad for the new Tarna comic, which is pretty cool. I really want to read that. Tarna is back in the saddle again. And that wraps it up for Heavy Metal number 306. Overall, a really fun issue. Lots of really cool standalone stories. The episodic stuff, really cool continuations, and I'm really wanting to see where they all go. And overall, Heavy Metal 306, pretty fun. Glad to pick it up, and some really interesting stories I'll definitely be thinking about later. That creepy one with the guy on the stairs and stuff. Yeah, some really cool stuff. Glad to read it. And yeah, the new stories seem pretty intriguing. So overall, Heavy Metal 306, I really enjoyed it. I've been digging the comic lately, and I hope it stays as good or gets better. But yeah, Heavy Metal 306, pretty fun. Definitely recommended. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. Should be my heavy metal playlist. In that playlist, I've reviewed a few of the recent issues, but I'm also starting to go back and review classic heavy metal. I reviewed the H.P. Lovecraft special, and I'll be definitely getting to more classic heavy metal very, very soon. So if you want to check out that playlist, I'll leave it right there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom.